Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrot.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution
Each week we interview top artists.
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Ooh, it is creepy.
FEWOCiOUS, welcome to Origin Stories.
Hi, Roger.
So nice to be here, and I have a big question for you. Not the question, a question before the question.
I didn't even know that there was the question.
There's a big one. It's a big one. Do you remember the date that you were on Origin Stories live stream?
I don't know the date. I remember being on though, and how freaking crazy it is, like how much life has changed for both of us, the space, everything.
Everything. February 18th, 2021.
Wow, you know the day.
I know the day. I have to. It's my responsibility. But
What if you're like, I don't know either?
I have no idea. Sometime earlier this year. But that was Parrot. It was Jonathan Wolfe. It was Odious. It was Ashley from Nifty. You were all preparing for, as I continue to call it, like the Power Quartet art drop. Yeah, and you're right. So much has changed since then. It's
wild. It's beautiful though.
It is. All right. It's time for the big question now.
Oh, okay. What is the big question?
FEWOCiOUS, what is your origin story?
My origin story. How do I answer that? Help.
You can go as far back as you want. You can start recent, you can start midway, you can go all the way back. You really can take it anywhere you want. You could do origin of art in general. You could do origin of art in NFTs.
My origin story is that I was a little kid that was alone a lot, and I didn't receive a lot of guidance from my family. I was home alone like all the time, and I wouldn't know what to eat. So I'd like eat cheese all the time, or just like eat like yogurt or like whatever I could find. Like if there was tuna, I'm like, I don't know how to make this, but I'm gonna eat it. And so I taught myself how to be independent really young, and everything I knew was taken away from me when I moved households. I moved out of an abusive household, so I had to move schools, go to a different home, and that was a big shock to me, like going to a courtroom and talking to a judge and talking to a room full of people, saying all these terrible things that happened to me, and feeling judged a little bit by people in the room staring at me. To do that, I've always been shy. So to do that and like say my truth very loudly in front of everyone, and then move schools and not know anyone, I sat alone all the time, and I would just draw because I didn't have a phone and I couldn't like play games to distract myself. All I had was paper and a pen, and I would draw the teachers. I would draw the kids around me. I would just draw. I would draw a dinosaur on fire, on a skateboard, flying away. And I did that so much that it became a safety blanket, drawing. And then it turned from something fun, like a dinosaur on a skateboard, to why are they looking at me that way? And I would like write on it. And then I'd keep drawing. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm kind of hungry right now. Oh, I forgot to do my homework. And then I would write over my drawings just because I was thinking it and I had no one to tell it to. So I'd write it down and keep drawing. And it evolved to my style now, where I write and paint and stuff. But that's my origin story, just being independent and alone so young that all I had was art to listen to me and to hear me and to not judge me.
Random question. When you were expressing yourself through drawing, you mentioned a pen, and my mind went to the question, did you draw with anything you could get your hands on any paper you could get your hands on, or did you gravitate toward like a particular type of tool and paper or something else?
My favorite pens were the dollar store pens. Like, just you go to the dollar store and you can buy a pack of pens for $1. Those were the best pens to me because they didn't work that well. So like you could, if you pressed really hard, you could get a really dark tone, but it still looked a little bit faded. But if you press very lightly, it kind of looked like pencil, but it wouldn't like smudge like pencil. And so I love dollar store pens so much. Besides that, I would steal pens from my teachers. If someone left a pen on the floor, I wouldn't say nothing. I would just take it. And I would always wear cargo pants in high school because I could just fit a pencil box in my pocket.
Yeah.
And I would look crazy walking around with just like pens and markers filling out of my pockets. But yeah, pen, I don't have a preference now. I just like using whatever. And I think messing with different mediums helps you tell different stories because you have to like go with it.
You mentioned a dinosaur on fire on a skateboard flying away, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to go back and anywhere along that road of expression, do you remember a particular drawing that surprised you, even that like you drew it and you looked at it and you thought this is an evolution, or I just love this drawing, or I can't wait to share it with somebody else?
Yeah, I had one drawing. It was it was the drawing that made me want to keep drawing. It was this drawing of some dude wearing a really baggy hoodie. And I was like, oh, I'd never seen a hoodie like this. I want to make a hoodie one day. And it was like a striped hoodie that was fit really weird. And he's wearing the hoodie and he's laying down. And his hair are just like little squiggly spikes going out of his head. And his eyes look crazy. And I don't really know how to explain it. It was a super simple drawing, but it looked so weird and unique that I was like, whoa, I've never seen something like this before. Whoa, like I want to do it again. So I tried to copy the drawing I drew that I liked. And the next one I drew didn't look as good. And I was like, oh no, I lost all my skills. I wasted it all on this one little drawing. And then I just kept drawing every day because I was like, I want to make another drawing that makes me feel the way this little guy in the hoodie made me feel. And that's what I did.
How long did it take? How long did it take to get that feeling back?
Ooh, a while.
Yeah.
Because then it was like, I did that as a stupid, like, oh, I'm bored right now. I'm in class. Blah, 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 blah. And I wasn't thinking about it. But now that I was thinking about it, I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
And so then I would go on YouTube and I was like, maybe I need to learn realism. And then I started learning about like anatomy and would study a lot. And I was like, well, this doesn't make me feel nothing. It just looks like a picture. I want to do something crazy. And I think it is because I learned anatomy that I could draw someone that looked real, but then I can make them look crazy. I can like make their body look super curvaceous in ways that are not natural at all, but it's my world, so it doesn't matter. And I think that was the next step, drawing an eye that looked real, but then doing like a nose that isn't where a nose should be. And I was like, whoa, I could just make a face however I want and there's no rules, it doesn't matter.
So you were already then saying things like, going back to the hoodie, right? You were already saying things then like, I want to create a hoodie one day. And how far were you thinking ahead? Yeah, well, like what were your dreams at that point associated with art or beyond?
Well, my dream before doing art, I think, was to do fashion. I had a lot of dreams. First, it was, I want to be a YouTuber. Oh, I can't be a YouTuber. Then I'm going to be a musician. And then it's crazy. I started learning how to make music and then nothing came of it. But now for my NFTs, I know how to do the sound. But like at the time, I want to do music. Oh, that's not going to work. Okay, I want to do fashion. I don't know how to do nothing with fashion. Well, I'm going to draw the designs. So hopefully one day I can use them. So I would draw fashion designs. Oh, well, I got to draw the person wearing the designs. Oh, well, now I just want to draw a person. And so like, it just evolved. And then as I got better with art, I was like, well, people put their art on t-shirts. And then that's when I started drawing on shirts and drawing on shoes. It's crazy now that I have shoes. And then one day I will go into fashion, and I'm already working on it. And it's crazy.
I was going to say, I mean, just hearing you talk and thinking it through, I mean, my mind went to, you've done some of your own music. You've done a musical collaboration. You've done, you did clothing through like the bonuses associated with the shoes that you did, and all the things you're saying you brought into reality in such a short period of time, relatively speaking. It's
surreal. Every day I'm like, 12-year-old me would not believe that this is happening so fast.
So where along the journey does the color come in? Is the color there right away? Are you experimenting with color from day one? Because I think a lot of people out there, a lot of FEWOCiOUS fans, immediately it's like that color is so distinct, along with how you draw, or, you know, how you illustrate?
I think the color, I would only draw in black and white at first because, you know, markers were getting expensive. And in class, you can't just have, because Crayola markers, you know, I could afford those, but you can't just have those out in class. The teacher would be like, why you have, it's math. Why you have this? So
You're like, I count in color. Don't worry about it.
Exactly. So I had to use a black and white pen and draw with the pen, and I would hide it in a composition notebook so it looks like I'm working.
Yeah.
And I could like flip to a different page, but I was drawing. So it was black and white all through like middle school, most of high school. But when I went home, obviously I wanted to use color, and there was these Copic markers, but they're $5 a marker, and they're alcoholic markers, so they blend very easily. And it makes it look kind of like a painting. And I wasn't allowed to paint when I was little because, I don't know, my family said I'd stain the carpet and mess up everything. So I couldn't paint. And I was like, well, I can use markers, but $5 a pop for a marker, ain't no way my family can afford that. No way. So
it's a lot for a marker as a kid.
Yeah. And I was like, well, digital, I can buy as many canvases. Well, they're free. I just create the canvas. I have endless colors. So I think like 15, 14, that's when I started messing with digital and just going crazy with color, because I was so starved of using color all those years of me using Sharpie that I was like, shoot, I got color now. I'm going to go crazy with color and do whatever I want.
And to pull another thread forward, to see you experiment in your NFT artwork with black and white, with the intersection of black and white and color, pretty fun to go back.
Oh, absolutely. I love it.
What is your first, when you first go digital, when you have that thought and you say, I can't paint at home, I can't afford those markers at this time, I got to experiment with color. What's your first program?
I used Photoshop first. I still use Photoshop. When I was little, I learned how to use Photoshop fast because when I made my Minecraft videos, I needed to learn how to do the thumbnails. So I stole Photoshop. I got a crack, could not afford it. And I would just like mess around on Photoshop, watch tutorials, and I taught myself how to use it pretty well. My thumbnails look pretty good for like a little 10-year-old. And then I stole that knowledge, and then later on I got Photoshop again and started drawing in it.
And then walk us forward. How does this progression become, I'm now going to look into selling art? Like, where does that thought first strike you? Do you realize that along the way that, hey, this will become a future possibility, or does it strike you out of the blue one day?
Well, my family never, they would make fun of my art and call it ugly, and they were very transphobic, homophobic. If we were watching TV and there was a gay couple, they would like laugh at it and point at it and make jokes. Or I used to have to read the Bible to my grandma every night. And when I would read it to her, she would like lecture me and tell me like how terrible gay people are and stuff. And, you know, she didn't know like about me, but it would make me feel awful. And I would just have to sit there and like, if I said something back, I'd get yelled at. So I would just be quiet and listen to this stuff. Or my hair was really long and I was like, I want to cut my hair. And they're like, oh, if you cut your hair, you won't look woman enough. And I was like, what does that even mean? Yeah. And then if I even question that, I'd get in trouble. So I never felt like I could be myself. Like my feet used to hurt really bad at my house because I would tiptoe so much that my feet would literally ache. And even now, like, it's so weird. It's such a small thing. When I walk around my house, I'm like, oh, I can walk normal, flat, but it's like I'm not used to it. So it was just a bad environment, and I was like, I want to get out, but I wasn't allowed to leave the house. I wasn't allowed to get a job. So I was like, well, how am I going to leave? I can't get money. How am I going to get money?
So you're just like, you're stuck with everything.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I've seen the internet. I've seen kids go on like talent shows and get really good at a skill, and they can like sing really well, and then they get out. I've seen all these like Vine kids, like they can sing really good and they make a song. So I have the internet. I'm going to figure out how to use the internet to get out of this house.
Yeah.
And so that's why I tried. I mean, I love art, so I like music anyway, but I'm like, I'm going to do music. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And art was the one thing where I was like, I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
If I work really hard, I can do this. And eventually I did get a smartphone, downloaded Twitter, and I saw this girl. She did an Instagram or a Twitter post where she's holding all these packages. And she's like, about to go, thank you everyone for buying my prints. I'm about to go to the post office. You're going to get them in like a week. And I was like, Prince, what does this mean? And then next week I saw another post from someone else saying, and they're like in their beautiful home and they had all these prints laid out on the floor. And they're like, thank you everyone for supporting me on the drop. And I was like, what is this? And I'd go check out these different artists' websites. And they all sold prints and they could afford to survive off of prints, commissions. And I said, shoot, if they can do it, they're just people. We're all just people. They can do it. I can do it. So then I figured out how to make a website and I started selling prints and all that.
Where does that come from? So you're in a tough environment at that point. You're stuck with a lot, but you have this, I mean, that's confidence. That's like innate confidence to be able to say, if I work really hard at this, I can do that. In some examples, unfortunately, it goes the other way where it becomes a lack of confidence or it's really pushed down. Where does that come from?
Where does it come from? I don't know. I think I'm not that confident of a person. Like in school, like in math, I would be too scared to even raise my hand to answer a question because I just didn't feel confident. But there's just something about, I don't know, like if I had to write an essay to do something, I could do it really fast. Or if I had to do something, then I would do it. And I sat there, and when I would draw, I would listen to a lot of like Kanye West interviews. Or like, what's crazy is Bobby Hundreds is my friend now. But when I was a little kid, I would play Bobby Hundreds interviews and listen to him talk about how he came up and how he made the hundreds and how it evolved into this bigger brand. And to me, that was so inspiring that you could go from nothing to, you know, a freaking iconic brand. And so I think just hearing interviews from these amazing, iconic people all the time, like got in my brain.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I was just like, my favorite people, the most successful people, like I think in the art world, they very much, I mean, these artists deserve it, but they glorify like Michelangelo. Yes, he's a genius, so amazing, so smart, but also like, he's just a person. You know, like he was the person who did that. Or like Picasso, so amazing, and look at what he did. And I feel like we look at history like it's like some otherworldly thing. But it's like, no, they were alive too. They just were a person and did that and applied themselves very efficiently.
Like,
and
like humanity craves superheroes and icons.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, none of these people are superheroes. They just were very smart and had good self-discipline and and did what they had to do. And I was like, well, if they did it, then who says I can't do that? And I think also being trapped like in this little room all the time, my brain was like imagining the biggest things possible. And so I don't know, I'm not really answering the question. I just
You are. No, that's and I also love that thought of just that inspiration. Like you're going out there and you're finding things that apply. You're finding the interviews that fire you up and just listening to these voices, then applying it, seeing your talent in drawing and saying, yeah, I can connect these dots. Then seeing someone selling prints. What's that? Exploring more, finding more people talking about it. So really like this synthesis, like pulling things from here, putting them all together and just being you with it.
Thank you.
Yeah. So take us forward even more. So you see the prints, you explore the prints, you keep seeing these examples. When do you then, is it print? Do you do prints or is it digital first?
What do you mean digital first?
So you're seeing these examples of people producing physical prints. Do you ever go down that road or do you stay digital right from square one?
So I stayed digital first because I didn't, you know, to sell something, you need to have a bank account. And I was like 14. And I was scared to ask to get a bank account because my family is really weird about money. So I was really scared to be like, can I get a bank account? And then they'd be like, why? And then it would be this whole conversation. But eventually my grandpa, he was the most supportive. I was like, please, can I get a bank account? And he was like, I don't think this is going to work, but sure. Like, why not? And I was like, thanks.
Now were you like, grandpa, keep it on the down low, like don't tell anyone? Or
he was aware that the family has problems. He was the only one that didn't have problems with money. So he was like, so don't tell anyone that I'm helping you. So like, it was like our secret that no one should know. And I got my bank account, and then I set up, what did I set up? I set up a website, and I didn't sell prints first. I sold shirts that I drew on. I bought like Hanes shirts and drew on them, and all over, because it was expensive to get shirts printed. So I just drew on the shirts, and I said, these are custom 1 of 1 hand-drawn shirts, because they are.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling super cool, like writing that. I'm like, ooh, custom 1 of 1. And I sold them for like $120 each. This is my first thing I ever sold. By then I kind of gained a little bit of a following.
Okay.
And with that, I knew if I sold those, I could use the money I made from that to produce prints and to produce shirts. And so I put them up. There was like 4 shirts, and they all sold really fast.
How's that first sale feel? The first one?
Oh, I mean, I was in history class, and I was like, oh my God, someone just bought a shirt for $100. Like I was like, I'm not a big brand. Why would you buy a shirt for me for $100? Now looking back, I'm like, oh my God, I sold a shirt, it was a custom 1 of 1 shirt that I drew on. Like, that's the only one that exists. That's very valuable. But when I was little, I was like, I'm drawing on a shirt with Sharpie. Who's gonna want it? I'm just gonna make it sound really nice and hope that someone wants it. But people did want it, and they liked that it was so custom, and they were the only ones with the shirt. And I felt over the moon. I remember sitting in class, and I was on my phone. I shouldn't have been, but I was on my phone in class, and the boy next to me was like, why does your phone keep buzzing, bro? And I was like, I have a website and stuff sold. And he was like, let me see. And he grabbed my phone, and he was like, a shirt for $100? No one's gonna buy a shirt for $100. And I was like, well, it just sold.
You're like, check the transaction history.
Yeah. And so it felt super surreal, especially to be in class and like hold my excitement. Also, I didn't really have friends that I could talk to about it. So I was just like internalizing this excitement. And then I went home, and then with the money from that, I ordered prints that I could sell and stuff.
Do you still know anyone now who possesses an original FEWOCiOUS 1 of 1 custom rare shirt?
I don't know about shirts. I know the people who, my first prints I ever sold, I did 15 of them. And I know like 4 of the people who own those.
Amazing.
But the shirts, no. I like don't know what happened to these people. They just like disappeared. I'm like, oh no.
If by some random chance any one of those 4 people happens to be listening to this, please reach out. I think that would be so fun to see that shirt.
Yeah. It's crazy. I wonder if they still have it. Because it was a while ago. It was like years ago. They might have been like, this shirt was, who cares about this shirt?
There's got to be one. There's got to be one. I want to believe there's all 4, but there's got to be at least one.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. So walk us. So we have a print of 15, and then keep stepping us forward on this journey.
And then so with the money I made from that, I invested in a microphone because I knew I could make videos with bad video quality, but if it sounded bad, no one would listen to it. So I bought a really nice microphone. I would make like videos of me doing like commercials where I'd be like, oh, I'm selling shirts. Oh, I'm doing this. and people would watch them and be like, who is this kid yelling at a microphone? And then from there, I was doing commissions and I saved up to get a nice computer that I could like render stuff on. I wanted to get into 3D. Now I'm like, oh, it's complicated. I don't want to. but at the time I wanted to. And then from there, I just kept reinvesting my money into either supplies I would use for art or to get more shirts. And I did a drop of hoodies where it was printed on the sleeves and on the front and in the back. And it was really expensive to get made because, you know.
Yeah, a lot of placement. Yep.
Yeah, a lot of placement, a lot of ink. My art is super colorful. So it's so expensive to make. I only made like 20 and I had to sell the hoodies for $100 each. And I lost a lot of money on this project. I put them out and I only sold like 5. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, at least people are getting them. Like that's 5 people is a lot of money.
Yeah. And
then with that money, I made shirts and I did these $18 shirts that should not have been $18, but I was like, who's going to buy them if they're more expensive? They need to be $18. And then I made commercials where I was like, I'm going to do a drop where I have hoodies that are, look at the placement everywhere. And I have $18 shirts, like be there November something. And I don't know, this time around, I don't know if I made a better video. I felt more confident. I had more stuff to show. And I was taking notes a lot from watching people sell clothes online. And the right people just shared this video and everything sold out when I did that drop. And it was crazy. And I remember being in class, I was in history class, and my phone was like, just everything was selling. And I was like, just in class, like, oh my God, my dreams are coming true, what? And that night, by then I bought like a label printer. I bought like all the packing supplies. I would get FEWOCiOUS stickers made, like all kinds of stuff to make the bags look really cool. And I just stayed up the whole night on a school night, like packing as much as I could so I could ship it out really fast. And yeah, that was nuts.
It's amazing. I mean, just thinking about that, how exciting that must have been, and just working the late hours, turning it around, phone buzzing in class.
So surreal. Yeah, that's crazy.
And then keep us going. So where are we now chronologically?
We're in November 2019.
Okay, November 2019. So then, so May 2020 is your first ever NFT artwork on SuperRare.
Yes.
So how does that come around?
Okay, so I did my first clothing drop. It did well, and then December I do another one where it's bigger, and it sold out again. And then from there I learned like how to structure a clothing drop, and I had way more money. I made $4,000 from my drop. That, to me, that was crazy money.
Yeah.
I was like, I just made $4,000 in like 5 minutes from this clothing drop. This is insane.
And you're 16 at the time?
Yes.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I was like, wow. So then with $4,000, I took $1,000 and bought my iPad. Mm-hmm. And then the rest I invested in a really nice printer because I was losing money, like having to get someone else to do it. So I bought a printer. I bought a cutter thing, and I would print all my prints. I would make my own stickers because it costed too much to get other people to make it. So I would make stickers, I'd make prints, I'd do everything and cut it all myself. And I would make like a fair amount of sales every week. But I did the math. I was like, okay, with the money I'm making this week, by the time I turn 18 years old, is this enough money to move out? And it wasn't. And I was like, well, what if I go viral on social media somehow and then I have a good business? And it's like, well, I can't rely on other people. so like, I was like, I don't know what to do. And I started making my art so I could go viral on social media. I would change all my art where it's still very much me, but I would try to make it more relatable. What can I do to get people to share it? How do I appeal to as many people as I can? I don't know what to do. I'm only 16 right now. I'm turning 17 and I want to move out. And I know I still have a whole year and a lot can change, but I don't see nothing changing. Crisis. I love art. Are my dreams going to come true? I'll do anything it takes to make my dreams come true. I don't care what it is. And then one day I convinced my family to let me paint. I was like, let me paint. I got a tarp. I bought the tarp with my own money where I could cover the carpet. Let me paint. And they said, okay, but be careful. And so I painted. And then my family got mad at me. They're like, the painting is taking up so much space. And I was like, oh. And so I was like, well, I could sell the painting. So I put the painting on my website for $90. And no one bought it for a while. It was sitting there for months. And then one day, I put shoes and a painting on my website that I painted. And no one bought them. And months passed where I was like looking at it like, man, hope someone will buy it. And one day I woke up and someone bought the painting. And I shipped it out that day. I was freaking out. I couldn't figure out who bought it. No one said nothing. And I was like, oh, like this person bought my painting. That's crazy. Like a shirt, you can wear a shirt, but a painting, like the only like use is like just being pretty on your wall and you appreciating the art. And I was like, I can't believe someone bought just my art to appreciate because they care about art. What? and then I package ship it out and a month passes and I get an email. And the email says, hi, my name is Shayne Copeland and I bought your painting. It's in my apartment right now and it looks amazing. I love it so much. It's like my favorite thing I own and I'd love to buy more of your paintings. And I was like, And I kept reading and he said, but I don't want these paintings to be physical. I'm interested in digital assets. I was like, what is that? And then he was like, I know that you do digital art. I saw you posted about your iPad and I know a lot about digital art and there's this stuff called NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And the whole email is like an essay kind of where he explains what NFTs are, what he's interested in. And he was like, I'm in the space right now and your art is so different than anything I've ever seen. I love your art so much. And I think that if you apply yourself, you can do really big things. Whoa. I want to collect your first NFTs and just please email me back. And I was like, what is this? And he linked SuperRare. He's like, you should apply to SuperRare. I was like, what is this? And I go in SuperRare and I'm like, this is not real. What is this? And I'm like, you know, I'm only at this point, I'm 17. And I'm like, digital assets. I thought, I don't know a lot about legal stuff, but I thought he saw this kid on the internet. I've seen a lot of my friends get their like designs taken or something taken from them. And I was like, oh my God, this man is trying to steal the rights to my art and he's going to buy it and he's going to trick me. And then he's going to go make his own line of all my designs, or he's going to go make a TV show with my characters or something. And I was having a whole crisis staring at this email. I'm like, I got mad. I was like, who is this guy coming in here trying to steal my
How
stuff?
dare you, Shayne?
Yeah. And then I did my research and I was like, ooh. But at this time, when you Google NFTs, now a lot of stuff comes up. But at the time I Googled it, there was like the SuperRare newsletter and like 3 other websites that really talked about it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, royalties, what the heck? The artist gets royalties? Oh, you can track it? That doesn't make sense. What? The blockchain. And then when I saw it was like Ethereum, I was like, I didn't even know Ethereum existed. I thought it was only Bitcoin. I thought Bitcoin was the only crypto there was. And then I was like, cryptocurrency. Oh, I don't know. That sounds dangerous. Like there was so many levels to it where I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And then I was like, but how ignorant, like, and naive can you be to like think of it as like a dirty thing? Like it's technology. Mm-hmm. It's this new thing. And my biggest like idol, I guess, is Steve Jobs. I love Steve Jobs. And I think it's cool that he was part of this like new like tech like thing, or even like Facebook and Twitter and all that. I'm like, that's so cool that these people just made this little thing, social media, and it turned into our new norm. And I've always like idealized that, or like even Amazon, like how crazy is it that someone made a product or whatever that turned into a new norm, and it's just saying like, oh, order on Amazon. Like how crazy is that? So I've always like loved that. And I was like, how am I ever going to be part of that? Like, I don't do tech, I just do art. When will this ever happen to me? And I would like sit and like draw like social media that I like wanted to invent, or like draw stuff that I wished one day I could invent. And when I saw NFTs, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. My weird little fantasy is coming true. And then I went on Twitter and I saw Coldy. I just went on the SuperRare Twitter, and Coldy was the first person that popped up. And I was like, whoa. I clicked on Coldy and I looked through his profile. And I was like, whoa, this man is real. And then I went on Hackatow and I went on Xcopy. And I was just like clicking around. I found Pranksy's Twitter. I was just on everyone's Twitter. And I was like, oh, these are real people talking to each other. I found Sarah Zucker. And I was like, oh, this lady is just like making cool art and existing. I found Matt Kane. And I was like, whoa, this guy makes gnarly stuff. Whoa. And I followed them all and I watched them and I saw them interact like humans. And I was like, whoa, they're passionate about this.
Yep.
This is a real community and they're passionate about it. This is real. And so then I went back and I emailed Shayne and I said, okay, Shayne, I did my research. Tell me more. And then he emailed me back and he was like, well, go apply and talk to me after you applied. And I was like, okay. And I applied to SuperRare, put all my favorite pieces. I made a little video where I was like, hi. And I was like super vibrant. And I got in like the next day. And
amazing.
Yeah, crazy. And then from there, Shayne, well, then I talked to Zach from SuperRare. And he was like an artist interview, like figuring out who I am. And I was talking to Zach and he was just like, well, you got in. And I was like, yay. And he was explaining more about NFTs to me. This is my second person that I've spoken to about NFTs besides Shayne. And I've never called Shayne at that time. So this is my first call. And I'm like, I've never done a business call before. This is my first call. And Zach is like, wow, you're really young. And I'm like, yep. And he's like, do you know what you're doing? And I was like, I have an idea. I did my research. And he explained things more. And he was like, look, this world is very new and it's going to be around for a very long time. And I think it's the future. And he was like, Ethereum is going to grow a lot. Right now, it was only like $200 at the time. And he was like, Ethereum is going to grow. When you make your money, hold it. And he was just explaining everything to me. He was like, you're going to get a bid for $20 and it's going to seem like a lot of money, but you need to understand that this market is different. Like hold and be patient. It's all about patience. If you're not patient, it's not going to work for you. And he like beat that in my brain. He was like, you need to be patient. And
good advice at that time.
Absolutely. That conversation like helped me. So Zach helped me so much. So we had the call and I was like, whoa. And then I talked to Shayne and I was ready to mint my first artwork. But to mint, you needed to have money to pay the gas fee. And I wasn't 18, so I couldn't put money in my account. And I was like, oh no. And I couldn't go. Like Shayne was like, well, you need to have money to pay the gas fee. And I was like, I could never. If I went to my grandpa or my grandma and said, can I have money so I can buy Ethereum? They'd be like, what are you doing? Stop right now. So I told Shayne, I'm like, that is not an option. I can't. I guess I'm not going to do NFTs then. Bye. Like, what am I going to do? And Shayne gave me like $80 in Ethereum. He said, okay, I'm giving you enough money to mint your first 5 pieces. Be smart and do what you will with it. Here's $80 in Ethereum.
Amazing.
And what's crazy to me is that I've never put like money in my MetaMask. Like everything I've gotten is from that $80.
Amazing.
And it's insane. Like I saw Shayne for Bitcoin conference in Miami. And as soon as I saw him, we're at a party and I was just crying at the party. I was like, you changed my life. Just crying to him. Or when I saw Zach from SuperRare, I was crying to him too. I'm like, oh my God. I don't know.
That's it's like the magic bean that really does become a beanstalk in the end, you know?
Yeah.
That's okay. So from an incredible beginning where you think like, well, can't do it. Shayne gives you the $80. So you have enough to mint, you said 5 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
How do you then say, this is where I'm going to start? Like, this is what I'm going to mint first.
Well, I started with my favorite pieces I've ever made. I started with that. And I had a lot of pieces. I was making digital art for years. But when I looked at SuperRare, I looked at Coldy, and what he made was so weird and so gnarly. Or I love XCopy, and just like the static, like I have a piece where you can totally tell that I was inspired by XCopy. It's really staticky, and his art is so vibrant and it's so crazy. And I was like, oh, with NFTs, why would I just put a static image? Like, why? I have the opportunity to do more than I could have ever done before. And so I started with my normal, like stale, like static pieces. And then I was like, oh, I want to bring life into it. And I taught myself how to animate. I taught myself how to do more stuff. And honestly, how I chose to go where I went was just realizing that NFTs were it's crazy technology where you can do like whatever you want and you can keep track of it. So if I have the power to do whatever I want, why would I just stay here when I could go like fly away and do all kinds of stuff?
Yeah. So here's my question, and where our paths then cross. Where does Pomp come in?
So Pomp, I was doing NFTs for, I don't know. I don't remember. It was like August. It was the summer. I was out of school. And one day Pomp just DM'd me. And I didn't know who he was. I was like, who is this guy? And I was looking through his Twitter. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. And at the time, that was the most like biggest person that ever reached out to me.
Which is amazing to think, because he at that time was building himself. Like he was on this crazy trajectory where he was just like growing his fan base. He was doing his podcast every single day. So he was in the middle of his own parabolic growth.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's so gnarly. He messaged me. He said, I would love to have a call with you one day.
Uh-huh.
And that was going to be like my 3rd business call ever. And so we took this call, and I'm like, I was doing research on him. I'm like, ooh, this businessman. Ooh, I don't know how to have a call with a businessman. And we're on the call, and I was like trying my best to be serious. But then I'm like, what the heck? Why am I being so serious? Like, I'm going to be however I want to be. And we're on this call, and he's like, look, I think NFTs are the future. It makes sense. It's digital. It's a thing you can own. And I think the future is digital. And he was just saying his like thesis on why NFTs are the future. And I was like, yes, I agree. And he was like, well, that being said, because we're still so early, I want to commission artists to do pieces. And I want to start with you. I think you are really interesting. I think that you make art that I've never really seen before. And I like your art a lot. And you have a good personality. And he was like talking about how he's looked through everything that I've done. And he's like, I think you just have something about you that if you continue to do what you do, you'll be very successful. And I would love to be part of this and help you. And I was like, whoa. And he said, okay, I want to commission you to do a few pieces. And we talked about it. And then I was like, okay. And then I went and made the Innovators Dinner, the first commission. And that was the first time in my life that I've seen like my SuperRare, you know, I've had bidding wars, but that was the highest I've ever seen like it go at the time. And I was like, oh my God. And then Pomp came out with his newsletter where he wrote his thoughts on NFTs and how he believes in me and stuff.
This was September 21st, 2020. The next big bet, digital art, was the title of the newsletter. And that hit my radar at a really impressionable time. Like it was a time when I was doing my own education process on NFTs and learning about NFTs. And I remember that specific newsletter being a really important, it was like the next click of the wheel in my brain, you know? And it just kept bringing me over and over and over until, you know, the story, like end up diving into this world. But I will never forget that. And then learning about you from there, and then trying to buy your artwork and failing miserably, for the NiftyGateway drop that came fairly soon after that moment.
That's so wild. It's beautiful to hear about how people got into the space, or like what made them really dive in.
Mm-hmm. You want to hear about my favorite artwork of yours of all time?
Tell me.
It was in that NiftyGateway drop, November 5th. And it was, I don't know how I feel right now.
Oh, I love that one.
It's the breathing. It feels alive to me. Like, and funny, I told the story like once or twice before, but I was lying in a bed, like on top of the covers, like just randomly flopped down on the bed. And I was like learning and engrossing myself in NFTs. And I had no idea yet about like, you know, you have to be really quick. You know, you have to be like really quick on buying. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at my phone, not even a computer.
Oh no.
And I have the page pulled up for, I've looked at your whole, like I've looked at every piece of artwork. I've gravitated to that one. I'm like, gotta get that. I have to get that NFT. And I'm laying there on my back and I'm watching the countdown, you know, 3, 2, 1. And I casually click buy and it was just fail. Like so sudden. It's like, nope, see ya. And then immediately it was like 5, 6, 7 times purchase price, like that.
Well, when that happened, I remember I was at my desk. It was a standing desk. And, you know, I'm nervous as heck because Nifty has changed a lot since that time. Like at that time, like, I don't know, like, I just like, or I've changed a lot. I was just like, I can't believe, how did I get here? Like, why did they say yes to me? Like, oh, like how, I can't believe I'm here right now. And I was so nervous. And I remember the drop happened and I refreshed my page and everything said gone.
Over. Yep.
But I thought, I was like, there's no way on earth that people like my art that much. I legitimately thought the site glitched. Like I went to text Ashley and Tommy. I was gonna say it broke. Because I thought, like I legitimately thought there's no way on earth that someone would want my art that much that it would sell out in 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then I refreshed Twitter and NiftyGateway tweets, FEWOCiOUS just sold out in like 5 seconds. And then I was at my desk and I literally fell on my bed. Like I was like, oh, I feel dizzy. Oh, and I fell on my bed and I almost threw up on the floor. But with that money I made from those selling, like part of the reason why my like persona or whatever was always me being like, oh my God, is no one knew this, but they were helping me get out of an abusive household. And I was like, I realized that I have enough money to leave now. And I have enough money to like pay rent for a couple months and like be okay. And that was a huge like, oh my God, I have enough now. Like that
deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. I mean, all that emotion is genuine. It's genuine. It's real. It's raw, like right in the moment. As all these steps keep getting taken and all that happens. And just to hear you say, you know, earlier in the journey, when you were mapping out your money to get to 18 with enough to move out, and you realize at that point in time that you didn't have the plan in place. So it's funny to think back to that, then fast forward to the NiftyGateway drop and think, I'm there. Like I'm there. I'm at that moment right now.
It's crazy.
And then it goes. And then so boom, then it goes New York City skyline. I remember that auction very well. I remember watching how that was playing out. I remember vividly your New Year's art drop. That was amazing. That was the moment that I purchased my first FEWOCiOUS ever. Yeah. How was that? Let's stop there on New Year's. What's the decision to do something on New Year's, and then how does it feel rolling that out?
Well, my birthday is New Year's Day.
Oh, so that's right. That slipped my mind. I pride myself on remembering those things. Your birthday is on New Year's, the birthday drop.
Well, what was crazy, so I remember it was like September, and Ashley Ramos, who works at Nifty, called me, and she said, okay, like your first Nifty drop went amazing. Like, we're so happy. Like, this many new users joined. And she was like telling me statistics where I was like, I don't know what that means. But she was like, basically, it went really well. And I was like, yay. And she said, I'd love to schedule another one with you. And I was like, another one? What? You guys like me? And so she said, like, oh, we're thinking January, blah, 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 blah. And we're just like saying all these dates. And she was like, when is your birthday, by the way? And I was like, oh, my birthday is January 1st. And she said, hold on a second, January 1st. That's like fits perfectly with the timing. It'll be a solo day, just you. And I was like, you would want to do something on my birthday? Because like my whole life, no one really cared about my birthday. Like my family, we didn't really celebrate my birthday. And when she was like, we could do it on your birthday. It'll be a solo drop day just for you. I was like crying on the phone. I was like, really? On my birthday? And she didn't know this. No one knew this, but I was like, oh my God, I'm going to turn 18 and I'm going to have a Nifty drop. And then I'm going to move. Like, I was going to buy a plane ticket for January 1st to go to Seattle. Yeah. But I didn't because I had my Nifty drop and I didn't want to be in the airplane while the auction was going on. So I was like, oh my God. And so we schedule it. January 1st comes around. And I remember like in December, like finishing up the pieces and knowing that like that drop is so sacred to me because no one knew what was happening. They're like, why are you moving? And I was like, I'm leaving this terrible household. Like I'm getting out. And I remember working on the pieces and animating them and like going to a different tab and like buying my airplane tickets. And I remember like crying while working on these because I'm like, these are going to be the last pieces I ever make in this house, in this room, before I leave and go start my life. And that drop, you know, it did amazing. And I'm just proud of the work. I remember with Somnium Space, we did like a gala event where you could go in the VR and look at the art. And I was like, whoa, we're doing new things. And I felt like I was doing something, and I felt like it was all like it could be so much more. And I don't know, that day was so special.
And thinking about the artwork too, even the titles, right? The Day I Decided to Fly, Moving On. I mean, now connecting those dots that you're creating these artworks when you know what's coming, and you're one of the only people who knows what's coming. I can't even imagine, you know, what you're putting into that artwork at that point with all of that ahead of you.
Yeah, that's one thing I like. Like if you look at all my old art, there's like so much more to it that I didn't say online because I didn't know how to like, I didn't want to come across online. I don't know. I just didn't want to share that part of saying like, look, I'm in a bad household. I wanted people to buy my art because they liked my art so much and not like pity me. And so
I respect that. It's because it's sensitive stuff where, yeah, you don't want to put it across and be perceived like wrong or in a different manner than you intend. So that must be difficult at that juncture, figuring out like, yeah, what am I going to share here? What am I going to keep to myself?
Exactly. And so like now, like you said, it's cool for people to look back at my art and they're like, oh, that's what that meant.
Yeah. It's special. It's formative. It's formative, and it comes through. It comes through. I think anyone, like anyone who cares about you, your artwork, who I mean, you become so beloved in this space and far, far beyond. But anyone who's looking, what you hear constantly is just the emotion, like what's conveyed here. It feels special. It just does. It feels special. And hearing you connect those dots, it's easy to understand why. It gives you that extra layer of the experience.
Thank you.
Keep walking us forward. So now you take the reins and go wherever you want and connect the dots to the amazing thing that just happened, which is Christie. I do want to get to that because it is going to be fun just recapping that. But from birthday drop January 1st, 2021 to Christie's, where do you want to go between there? You've done so much. You've done so much that's meaningful. What fires you up today? Where do you want to touch on?
Well, I don't know. I think everything is important.
Let's go.
I don't know.
Let's go.
So by then, me and Artifact started talking in December.
Mm-hmm.
But we could never, we're like, let's do a Christmas drop. And then we're like, ooh, but we don't want it to seem like Christmas, like gimmicky. So we're like, oh, like, what do we do? So like we started talking in November, and we would talk every month until I moved to Seattle. And then we were talking every day. We're like, we don't have a day yet, but we're going to make something cool. So we just started making the shoes before we even had a day.
Amazing.
And we're like, it's going to be so undeniably cool that they can't say no. And we were just making the shoes. And me and Benoit and Chris and Z, we were talking every day, just being like, what if we did this? Oh, and just in the calls, like freaking out, being like, well, let's use AR and da, 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 da. And just, it felt like I was just like with my friends and like in like elementary school where you're like, dude, I figured out how to do something crazy. And you're like, dude, no way. Like that's what it felt like every day talking to him. Our Discords would be on Discord and you'd be like 4 a.m. and Benoit would be like, why? I'm in Paris. Why are you awake right now? And I'm like, I'm just excited. And so we were just working on that and I was busy figuring out the shoes and they let me do like whatever I wanted. So I was like trying to figure out like philosophy of, well, if there's 3 shoes, what is the purpose of these 3 shoes? And I wanted it to be more than, oh, I drew something on shoes. I wanted it to be like a story. So I was figuring out the story. And then later on in January, 2 Feet's team reached out to me and they were like, we saw what you did with Nifty and we think it's really cool. And this is 2 Feet. And I was like, it was a call. And I was like, guys, 2 Feet. I love 2 Feet. When I was little, I would listen to 2 Feet's music. And like, I don't know, I love his music a lot. I think it's super cool. And I was geeking out. I was like, someone I really like wants to come in this space and like actually cares about the space. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, okay, before we agree to this, you should talk to 2 Feet himself. So me and 2 Feet get on a call. And he was just talking about how he's seen what Blau's doing and how he thinks it's really cool for the music industry and he thinks it's the future. And I was like, dude, I think it's the future too. And then we're just like geeking out about it. And he shared like all the drawings, because all the drawings are like part him, part me. He was telling me like, how he had a really tough time and how these drawings helped him a lot and he got to vent. And so it was just like this personal project. And I thought it was so cool that someone of his stature in the music industry, like now there's been a lot more musicians, but at the time of 2 Feet, there wasn't a lot of,
there were not that many.
Yeah. So it was like a new thing that I've never seen before. So I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to say yes to this. Like, what? And so I said yes. And we worked on that. And I was busy working on that. And then when that finished, which went amazing, I got to paint a guitar.
Yeah, it was Cryptocaster and then City Hand was that drop, right? Yeah. And
the Cryptocaster, I've never seen such a nice guitar. Like it came and I was like, wow, this is really expensive. Like just the guitar itself. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to paint on this really expensive.
Like, nice, you want me to paint on this?
Yeah. And it was so shiny and beautiful. And I was like, oh, I'm scared to touch it. And then I painted it. And that was a fun experience to paint again. And then that finished. It was amazing. I was so happy. It was crazy. such a gnarly experience. We were the third people ever to get $1 million on NiftyGateway, I think.
Wow.
And
The third drop in general ever.
I think it was Beeple, Pac, and Trevor Jones, and then it was us.
Amazing.
And that was a crazy $1 million.
It's a big deal.
I was like, I just came from my grandparents' house and I left this bad life, and here I am. I got to my dreams, make art, and I'm part of this crazy like art revolution. I'm talking to smart people every day. It's insane. And that was a huge like moment in my life where I sat down and I was like sitting in my living room looking at my bookshelf, and I have like a Leonardo da Vinci book, I have a Michelangelo book, I have a Basquiat book, I have a Van Gogh book, and I was looking at these art books, and I was like looking at my phone where the people were like tweeting the statistics, and I was like, I refuse to live this life and not like go all in on like NFTs and like make this revolution as crazy as I can help make it. Because how lucky or how amazing is it that I'm in this position, and my life, all the events in my life happened the way they did. And I was looking at all the hardships in my life, and I was like, you know what? That made me feel really tough. I had to learn how to get tough really fast. And now I'm in this NFT space and nothing affects me. Like no one, like if someone says something mean to me, I'm like, I don't care. Like you didn't punch me when I was 5. Like I feel tough. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to pretend and make this better and use this toughness so that I can push through and that little things don't bother me. And I want to use this NFT space and just make crazy art that's never happened before. And I want to do things that's never happened before. And I was staring at this like Michelangelo book and I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try my best. And I believe the future of art, like new art mediums like gesso and watercolor and oil paint, those were new technologies. Like the paint is like a technology, the way it's in a tube, that's technology. And now we have the new medium, the new paintbrush, the new type of paper, the new canvas. The contract itself is like art. It couldn't be art. And I think that's cool. And I want to be part of the artists that are using this new technology to shape the way art is, the same way you go to the art store and acrylic paint is normal. Okay, let's make the new norms. And I'm just so excited. But in that moment where we did that drop, that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is cool. The press is cool. It's cool, whatever. But what's cool is that we're part of this art revolution and I am here and I want to be part of it. And then from then on, I have just been, I don't know. I went on a tangent.
It's a great tangent. And that really resonated with me because I think in X number of years, wherever, some point in the future, we look back at this point in time. I think there's just no question, like you said, that digital art, however you want to frame the tool or tools that are at play here, there's just no question it enables a brand new renaissance, a revolution, whatever term we want to throw at it. Just no question, the respect equation for digital art as a whole is just going to continue rising until it's like indistinguishable from other art forms. And in fact, who knows? I mean, future is digital, right? The future is digital. So that respect equation may even end up transcending when all is said and done. It's a pretty amazing thing to sit here and think about. It's pretty amazing that you were sitting there having that thought at this moment where you have this incredible drop. You're looking at Michelangelo on your shelf and you're doing the, let's go. Like, I'm here and I'm part of something special. I mean, I know you've heard this a lot. It's probably becoming a cliche to you, but so ahead of your years at that time to have that level of perspective.
Thank you so much. But yeah, after that, the artifact drop was happening. And because I had that like special moment after the 2 feet drop, I was like, this artifact drop, at first I was like just excited that I got to make shoes. And then I was like, oh my God, like I've never seen digital fashion and real life like connection before until that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about what if one day Nike like bought an NFT and then like all the big companies are like fighting over like forging the shoes, because when you own the NFT, you can forge the shoes as many times as you want. So we're like, what if like, we're talking about this and connecting to this other like real life companies we hear about all the time and like getting part of the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to the artifact guys really opened my mind, and they guided me a lot, and I asked them crazy questions and they would give cool answers. And I sat there and I was like, this artifact drop is like a big step forward in fashion, and fashion is a huge part of culture and like life for so many people, and we're infiltrating that and we're showing that NFTs can be part of that. And not right now it's just shoes, but soon it'll be like everything. And so that drop was super special to me. And then that happened and it was insane. After that, we're on Hypebeast and on High Snobiety and all these like things that I would like media outlets that I would look up to growing up. And I was like, whoa, I'm on there. I remember going on Instagram and sharing the Hypebeast article, and all my friends were like, bro, what? And I was like, I know, it's crazy. And I was freaking out. I mean, I was freaking out to see the shoes in real life and just how crazy it is, or to hear that like people I've admired saw that, or like some designers that I really like reached out to me. And I'm like, oh my God, you saw that? And I was like, whoa. And then after that, it was the collab drop. Well, before that, it was a collab drop, actually.
Right.
I don't know my timing, sorry.
So I gotta say, FEWOCiOUS, I lost my mind on that artifact drop. Like,
Really?
lost my mind. I remained, and to this day, I have a tweet where I said like my favorite thing in the entire NFT space is this shoe drop. And I thought through the I didn't know exactly what they had planned with the distribution, like the distribution channel of the NFT becoming the forging mechanism for the shoes. But I'm like, that's innovative, it's brilliant, it's meaningful. I'm like, so I'm hatching plans to like just scoop all the shoes on the secondary and like control the entire supply of like, the FEWOCiOUS shoes. Just going nuts. I'm like talking to my brother-in-law. I'm like, you gotta buy a pair of these FEWOCiOUS shoes. Talking to like my friend's dad, you gotta buy a pair of these FEWOCiOUS shoes. I think that was his first NFT ever. And the FEWO drips. And yeah, anyway, just wanted to share that. Lost my mind that day.
That makes me so happy. Yeah, that drop is super special to me. I don't know, I'm just so excited because it's the start of so much. And I'm like looking at the timeline of the future. I'm like, whoa, we got to be like part of this really early thing. I'm part of it. What the heck? But yeah.
How about that collab drop?
So the collab drop, at first, Tommy was like, well, we've done curated drops where like an artist got to pick other artists. And so he was like, do you want to pick artists? And I was like, Tommy, I promise I will not let you down. And so that was also in December, so that was the year before. I'm so bad at timing and telling stories. So that was in December. And then to my soul, I was like, I need to find the best ones. And I'm kind of awkward and I don't talk to a lot of people. Like, I'm just doing so much all the time that I'm like, I'm bad at making friends. And so I already knew Jonathan Wolfe. I followed Jonathan Wolfe since before the NFT space. Like, I've been following him for years. When I didn't have money, I bought his paintings because I thought he would get like some crazy like collab or something. And his art is just so weird that I know that he's going to do crazy things. So I like invested in him very early. So I knew him immediately. I'm like, okay, Jonathan Wolfe. And then I was looking, and Odious makes really emotional art, and I make emotional art. And I was like, I connect to Odious very heavily. And I didn't know anything about him. I've never spoken to him before. So I'm like, I don't know him. I love his art. I hope he's a really cool guy. and then Parrot. And Parrot, now he's my best friend. Now he's my homie and he helped me move to Seattle. But I picked him before he was my friend. I didn't know him. And so I just remember I had one call with him where because I had to make sure that I picked the right people. So I called him and I was like, what are your dreams? What do you want to do? And I wanted to know his true intentions. I was like,
put him on the spot.
Yeah. I was like, what's your biggest dream and what are you going to do to get there? And I did that for everyone. I already knew Jonathan because he was my friend, but I wanted to make sure I pick people that like when this drop happens, that forever they'll go on to like do amazing things and that I picked the right people. I didn't want someone to like, I don't know, not be faithful to the art. So he answered amazing answers and he was like, I just love it so much. I need it. And I was like, okay, I trust you. And then one day I texted all of them. I said, have you ever had a NiftyGateway drop before? And they're all like, no. Why? And I just didn't reply for like 2 days. and then Tommy DM'd them from the Nifty account saying, hey guys. And then it was just me picking them. And then Ashley Ramos from Nifty was like, we've never done a group drop before, really. You want to do a group drop? And I was like, that sounds really cool. And then from there, we just kept working together. And it was this beautiful bond that we built on like ideas. And I've been so alone, like just coming up with stuff the whole time, that to have, and like with Artifact, we knew we were doing shoes and we had this like structure already. But with them, it's like, we don't know. Let's come up with something. And so we did that. And it was amazing. And that taught me a lot about having friends. And now they're my best friends. Like Odious, I talk to him every day. When I bought my CryptoPunk, I was like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. And he was like, I'll help you. Parrot, he's taught me so much about life and just like, I don't know, he helped me move out. He helped me buy groceries when I didn't know what to buy. And then Jonathan is in art school and he knows a lot about art. And so when I want to talk about like art philosophy, he's like the best to talk to. And he's like, yeah. Or he'll like show me new artists that I'm like, dude, how did you find this? And he's like, well, when you're in art school, you just have to do essays on all these people. And it's like the most niche thing in the universe. And so I love all of them and they're amazing. And that was nice. But yeah, that happened.
And you could see the bond. I mean, one of my favorite things, I think, as you know, is your like process footage behind the scenes, letting people in to how the art is being, aspects of how the art is being created, and some of the fun you're having, you know, behind the scenes at times. And I will never forget that trailer video that you all put together. I thought that was so well done. It left me personally with such a joyous feeling about what you were all accomplishing together. And I think it was very, very clear that you all clicked so well.
Oh, thank you.
And then it happened. And then the drop happened and I think went pretty unbelievably.
Yeah, it went amazing. And I remember we're all in a Zoom call when the drop happened and we're all like, oh my God, and just freaking out. And then right after the drop, everyone was like, I have to go now. I have to call my mom. And everyone went and called their mom. And then I didn't because I don't talk to my family. So I was just sitting there like, well, this is cool. I'm happy that today happened. And I was at Nathaniel's house. So I like sat with his dog, Sammy, and was just like holding Sammy while he went.
With Sammy.
Yeah. And I was like, well, I can't talk to my family right now, but I'm holding Nathaniel's dog. And I'm really happy that today happened. And that day also I like sat and it was a big realization moment where a community, and it was like a big like block in my heart, like a step up where I was like, okay, like you shouldn't do everything by yourself. Like you should help others and you should work together, and more minds put together can make freaking awesome things. And then like, that was just another like moment where I was sitting holding Sammy and I was like, okay, I want to do big things. And for big things to happen, for this to be the revolution that I think it is that we all have to like work together and, you know, help each other. And yeah.
It's like the next philosophical leap in FEWOCiOUS' journey. I love it. You're having these moments. You're looking at Michelangelo. You're holding Sammy. You're having...
Exactly.
And where do you go next?
After that, so then after that was the artifact drop. And then after that, what was after that? Yeah, so after those drops, at that point, so after those drops happened, I did take a break because there was so many people reaching out to me all the time to be like, you want to do this project? And then everyone saw the 2 feet drop I did. So all these musicians are like, I don't want to do this drop. And I was like, whoa. I don't want to do money grabs. I don't want to be part of these people who don't care about NFTs. The 2 feet drop was special because 1, he cared. And 2, he was one of the first, like, it wasn't like it was at that time where all these new musical artists came in. It was pretty new. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't like that. All these people were like, you want to do this? You want to do this? You want to do this? And also I was scared because, you know, I don't know a lot about legal. I don't know a lot about what is a good deal. Mm-hmm. I don't know. How would I know? And so I would get so nervous where even if something seemed really cool, I was like, whoa, I don't know if they're trying to screw me over right now. Mm-hmm. I have no concept and I don't know who I can ask. And so I was having like a little bit of a crisis being like, I want to do the space justice and do the right things, but I don't know how. And I was getting nervous all the time. And at that point, I talked a lot to Ryan, ThankYouX. Mm-hmm. He was like my rock. He was like, if I felt like, dude, I don't know, he would like help me. He would talk about life with me. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time in my life that I received like super good like guidance and help. And he was like, dude, you need a manager. And I was like, great advice. How am I going to get that? What does that mean? How do I get that? And he's like, if I ever see someone that I think fits, I'll let you know. And I trust him, you know, I trust Ryan. So I knew he wouldn't give me like some random person. And one day randomly, Ryan's like, I think I found someone. And I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, yep, his name is Andrew. And I'm like, who's Andrew? And he's like, his name is Andrew Gertler. He's Shawn Mendes' manager. And I was like, cool. But like, why? Like, why him? And he was like, well, Shawn Mendes was on Vine and he was really popular on Vine. And Andrew knew how to take Shawn when he was like 16 or whatever and help him leave Vine and turn into a pop star. And he was like, Andrew knows how to work with someone who is young and is entering like adulthood and knows how to convert someone from like one thing to like more of a broader, like show the world who you are. And I was like, okay. And then we scheduled a call and Ryan went on the call with me and asked Andrew like all the like the tough questions, be like, what are you going to do? Like, what are your intentions? You know, like stuff like that. Yeah. And I was just there like, wow. And Andrew was like, look, like he was just so serious, like not serious, like honest. Mm-hmm. Like, look, I think NFTs are really cool. I believe in them. I think your art is amazing. And he's like, I don't know the answers to everything, but I will work really hard and we'll work together to figure out things. If you want to do something crazy, we'll find the team to do it and just being honest. Mm-hmm. And Ryan was like, if someone says, I don't know to you, you should, that's cool. That's good. It's good. He didn't act like he knew everything.
It's a sign of confidence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so Andrew, like we did like a trial thing working together and he eventually became my official manager and he's the best in the whole world. He's taught me so much about life and things on a grander scale than I think sometimes. Because I think sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I'm just little. He's like, look at what you did. You're like, you're awesome. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And so we were sitting and he was like, have you ever emailed Christie's or talked to Christie's? And I was like, no. why would they ever want to talk to me? And he was like, you're amazing. Let's email Christie's. I'm gonna email Christie's right now. Even if they say no, like they probably won't say no, but I'm gonna email them now. And he emailed Christie's and he ended the call, emailed them, called me like 30 minutes later saying, oh my God, Christie's emailed back really fast. And I was like, really? And he was like, yeah. And basically Noah Davis from Christie said, oh my God, I was about to email you. Like they already wanted to pick me as the next artist.
I believe that. Yeah.
And so we sat on a call and he was like, okay, well, now what do we do? And Noah already looked through my Instagram, like everything that I've posted. Andrew obviously has to figure out who I am. And we never acknowledged, like when Andrew became my manager, I never talked about being trans. I never brought it up. We didn't acknowledge it. And Andrew was like, I looked through your Instagram and me and Noah saw that all your old art is signed as Victoria. And I was like, yeah, so I'm trans. And we talked about it. We talked about me being trans. And it made me realize that with Christie's, it is such a big platform and it is such a big career moment. How cool would it be for it to be a trans art, like for people to know that it's a trans artist and for it to show like representation and me talking about what it's really like to be trans. And I said that to Andrew and I said that to Noah, and Andrew was like, yes, like if it's your heart, like follow your heart. And Noah was like, yeah, okay, it's your life, you're telling your story. And then we scheduled it during Pride Month.
Yep.
And so I had months to just work on it. And that's what I did.
I'll never forget the picture that you posted of you in front of Christie's prior to the art release with pride flag and just this oh, you felt to me, my words, you felt to me like an absolute icon in that moment. Just observing the shot, the enormous, like the scale of the building behind you, the pride, like Pride Week, pride flag, your honesty, bringing that forth, and then you go into digital art and the connection there, and it just felt big.
Yeah, it was huge. It was, when we walked into Christie's, it is such a huge building and it's so like fancy and nice and everyone walking around is like wearing suits. And I walked in wearing like my jeans and the security guards working there were like, what are you doing? And Deanna on my team was like, oh no, this is an artist. Like this is the featured artist. His art is right there.
Yeah.
And they were like, huh? Like all the security guards were like, wait, you're really young. Why are you here? And my team was like, no, he's the artist. Let him come inside. And they're like, oh, like they thought I was just some kid walking around Christie's. And or like one security guard would let me walk around and then another one would be like, hey, who are you?
Like over and over again.
Yeah. It was insane, especially we were there when no one else, it was just us and Noah in the whole building just walking around. And I got to go look at all the art and just, it felt so ridiculous. Or where my art was, it was in the center and there were these two staircases going up and my art was in the very center of these grand staircases. And Noah was like, you know whose art was there before you? And I said, no, tell me. He said, Basquiat. He was the last sale. And his art was on the same walls as my art, like right before. And I was like, oh my God, my art is on the same walls as Basquiat. What?
Are you thinking back to your bookcase?
Yes.
And staring up? Yeah.
Dude, literally, yeah. And I was thinking about how that building, like all these master artists, like it's Christie's, all the like best art is there. And my art isn't hanging in the same building with all this amazing art. And it was crazy. I cried so much while I was there, and it felt so surreal. And it felt crazy to, you know, come out and tell the world that I'm trans, and for the biggest auction house to be like, yeah, this kid is trans, and here's his art. He's cool. And like, it felt so validating.
Did that moment, I mean, it's big. You're putting everything into it. Whole self, open, honest. This is me. This is my art. For those who may have not seen it, you walk into Christie's, you make a left turn, and it's there. And it's there. It has its own space. Like you said, it's between those two grandmaster staircases. It feels featured. There's nothing else in that part of Christie's other than your artworks. Do you ever, I mean, bringing all of that forth, bringing your whole self forth, do you ever experience doubt in that moment? Or once you make the decision that I'm going to share it all, and I'm going to do it here at Christie's on this special week, like, is it full steam ahead, or do you have moments there that raise doubt?
Well, when I was working on the art, I had a lot of doubts. Like at first I was like, oh my God, I'm going to come out. Like, are people going to hate me now? Like, is my art, like, will all the collectors holding my art be transphobic and be mad that they bought my art? And they're like, great, now I have this art that I don't want. I was like, is that going to happen to me? I don't know. Or when I was working on the year 16 piece, it's called When a Child Feels Lost. And there's a noose in the piece. Like, it's a very dark piece. And I was really worried that when I showed that to Christie's, they'd be like, whoa, this is a lot. But no, I showed it to Noah, and he was like, it's real. It's what happened to you. Like, why would we censor that? No way. And so everything, and that made me feel confident. I'm like, well, if Christie said, then I'm gonna do whatever I want. And I was super extremely honest with everything. Or looking at my journal entries, there's journal entries where I write about not wanting to be alive. And you can see that I was like 14 when I wrote it. And it's sad. And so that made me feel, oh, I don't know, should I share this? But it felt like I had to from my heart. Like, some things in life for me feel like they had to happen. And that was those moments where it's like, I have to, if I'm going to tell this story, I'm going to tell you the story. I'm going to tell you everything, even if the dirty parts, the bad parts, everything, I'm going to tell you. And my goal, honestly, is that when I was 12, I went online and I would see, there was this trans model named Chella Man, and he was being himself. And he was on like billboards, and he was seen as like the handsome man, and he's trans. And I've never seen that before. And it gave me hope. And my like dream for this auction was like, everyone was like, how much do you think it's going to sell for? Blah, 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 blah. And in my brain, it's like, I hope that there's some kid at home who sees me doing what I'm doing and feels hopeful for the future. The same way I felt when I was young and looked at other trans people being successful. But yeah, when I made that decision that I'm going to tell everything, then I was like, I'm telling everything and can't nobody stop me. And then it was full steam ahead, and I was very confident.
Did it feel cathartic during the process? Once you make that decision, you're putting one foot in front of the other, and you start to see the positive response, starting with, let's say, Noah looking at it and saying, why would I censor this? Yes. Andrew saying, it's you, forward. Then you start to get some maybe reactions in media or from some collectors, I don't know, but you start to get that positivity. Does it just start to feel like this big catharsis, like, I'm here, let's go? Absolutely.
It felt so freeing. I hid myself my whole life, and to finally say my name is Victor, and like, you know that I'm trans, and like that's out there, it felt very freeing. Or for all my collectors, they're like, oh, I didn't know. I support you. Like, keep going. I was like, oh, I thought this was going to be way worse. Everyone was so nice to me. I was like, oh, wow. I don't know. And you know, one of my Nifty pieces is called Victor and Victoria.
Mm-hmm.
And someone posted on Twitter, oh, that's what it means. And I was like, yeah. And so it's cool, people looking at my old art and they're like, oh, all of this, it makes sense now. And so that was really freeing, that I feel like people can understand my art more now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it felt great.
Do you feel like you can do anything now?
I feel a lot. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. I'm thinking about, again, from the initial iconic shot outside Christie's to then going through the entire experience, telling your story, mass media, right? Lots of mass media appearances, lots of attention, having it be well received, having those positive reactions. I mean, to me, it's like you come out of that. What can stop you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel very powerful.
I love it. I love it. FEWOCiOUS, let's play a game. You ready?
Okay.
I feel like you're going to be good at this.
I'm nervous.
It's the lightning round. It's meant snap reactions. First thing that comes to mind, a word, a couple words, a sentence. If you get really fired up about something and you just want to hit time out on the lightning round and go off and talk about it for a little while, totally fine too.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
I'm nervous.
First thing, don't be nervous. You can do anything, remember? Come on, this is lightning round, get out of here. All right, first thing that comes to mind, art.
Oh, that's the question. I love it. It's my life and it's everything.
NFTs.
I love it. Also my life. And I think it's the future and I think people will do amazing things with it. And I'm ranting right now, but I'm just really passionate about them. And I think people yet haven't experimented enough. We're still too early. I think crazy things are going to be invented and come, but we can't even comprehend yet what yet.
Agree. Parodism.
Oh, my homie.
Jonathan Wolfe.
My homie.
Odious.
My homie.
Lauren.
My homie.
NiftyGateway.
My homie.
SuperRare.
My homie.
Christie's. Are you going to do it again?
I'm really happy they gave me a great platform and we're very open to a young artist, like a super young artist coming in and telling my story. I think it's really cool and they're very supportive and I'm happy. I'm happy that I think having that drop with them was really, or auction with them, was very special. Mm-hmm. Because I think it showed traditional collectors that NFTs are happening and they're coming in. And I think that was important.
Yeah. Authenticity.
Important.
Doodles.
Important. They're awesome and help me think.
By the way, special moments, you deciding to do doodles for those who participated in the auction, that was special, like special. And thank you, by the way.
I'm so happy. On some of them, I put typos by accident. Yours doesn't have a typo, but some of them, I used the wrong your. So
it makes it even better. It makes it even better.
It says you're awesome. And I'm like, no.
It makes it authentic to the moment. The last piece, chronologically, so don't worry about ranking someone's against another, but just the last piece today, yesterday, the day before, of NFT artwork that made your jaw drop.
Ooh, that made my jaw drop. Ooh. Honestly, anything Corey Van Loo is working on, I go to his Instagram story and he's just working on a canvas like taller than him. And I'm like, dude, you're crazy. I love you.
Yeah.
Or talking to him, his insight, like all his art has such deep story and love and care. So anything Corey does, I really love Erin. She does insane, like she's so smart. She's 14. I'm like, I don't get it. Are you so smart? I don't know. There's everyone.
Shout out to Corey and Aaron though, for sure.
Yeah.
Slightly different question. Chronologically, the last piece of NFT artwork or an artist who you thought, why don't more people know about this artwork or this person?
Ooh. Who? Oh. I don't know how to say his name.
Okay.
His name is Lucas Aguirre. Lucas Aguirre.
Okay.
I don't know. He 3D scans stuff and then he paints it in VR. And so he'll take a picture of like a model and then paint the model in VR, and it looks insane. And I own his NFT. It was one of the first NFTs I ever bought. It literally was the first NFT I ever bought. And I was so nervous buying it. But I don't know. He's super smart. And I just love how he messes with technology. I think him.
It's a good one. I'm gonna do some research, tag it in the Twitter show notes. Can't wait to see. Future guest on Origin Stories should be ...
Should be. I don't know. Someone cool.
I stumped you.
Someone
All right. Someone awesome. We can handle that. I'm pretty sure you dominated the lightning round. It was passed with flying colors.
Thank you. I tried really hard.
FEWOCiOUS, what is next? I mean, I can't remember whether it was off recording or on, but I think you had related that you slept for a week. You had to like take a step back and take a moment from what was an incredible buildup and an incredible everything surrounding Christie's. So now that you've had some time and space, where's your mind going? What can you share about what may be coming?
There's a lot I can't share.
I believe it.
Just a lot of really wanting to experiment with what NFTs can be, which is a lot, and experimenting with technology and telling stories and telling my story and telling. I feel like a lot of my art used to be about pain and suffering and hurt, and now I want it to be more about like self-growth and what does trust mean, what does friendship mean, what does being an adult and being in the world mean, what does anything mean, like stuff like that. So I think just exploring who I am more. And
travel, right? You get to travel to meet collectors, right?
I'm so excited about that. Yeah, we just finished planning everything. And that's going to be so fun to meet everyone and see the reaction when they see the trunk in real life.
Yeah. And for those who don't know, the 5 artworks at Christie's, right? You're traveling to each collector who purchased the artwork.
Yep. All of them said yes. So I'm really excited.
Amazing. 5 for 5.
Yep.
FEWOCiOUS, this was a special one for me. Ever since February, when you were on the live stream for the quartet drop, had in the back of my mind, I'm like, it would be amazing to do a full out origin story one day. Today's that day.
We did it.
We did it. Thank you for bringing your authentic self and just spending all the time.
Oh, thank you for doing what you do and providing a platform for other artists and creators to speak their truth, and for you to, ask about their truth, because a lot of artists don't talk a lot. We just sit in our room and draw. So for you to give us a place to speak is really cool, and I respect what you do.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Greatest honor. I can't wait to do it again on NFT, not origin stories, but milestones down the road.
Woohoo.
See you, FEWOCiOUS. Thank you.
Bye-bye.